Hey everyone, I'm Laura Ingraham. This is Ingraham Angle from Washington. Thank you for joining us on a Friday night. Now, we're going to have full coverage of the DOJ's continued political targeting of President Trump in moments. But first, now we're going to kick off this Friday a little bit differently with the return of the worst in media. So what's that? Well, it's easy to become numb to media bias these days, so we're going to keep track of the very worst offenders every chance we get. Joining me now is Horace Cooper, Project 21 chair and senior fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research, author of the new book, Put Y'all Back in Change, How Biden's Policies Hurt Blacks, and Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor. All right, guys, let's begin with the big news of the week. And this was historic because Nancy Pelosi has had to give up the gavel, and the media, well, they laid it on really thick.
It's the end of an era and an incredible one. And I mean, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it's sort of hard not to be in awe of what she has accomplished, unless you're in a cult.
This is like watching, a great performer on the stage or a great athlete making a big decision about the next chapter.
It would be difficult to overstate the impact that Nancy Pelosi has left on our country and our politics.
All right, Ari, take it away. What about that?
Oh, well, Laura, the mainstream media does the exact same thing for Republicans, but first the Republican has to die. If you remember George H.W. Bush, they couldn't stand him. He was a wimp. They kicked him when he was up, kicked him when he was down. But then after he died, oh, did they praise him. So, yeah, they're fair. They do it to living Democrats and dead Republicans. Well, they did it as well, Ari, of course, when President Reagan, for whom I worked, died at his funeral. You might as well have thought they didn't call him, sleeping in the afternoon, Ronnie Reagan, he was going to blow up the world, racist, anti-gay. I mean, they hit him on every front. But at the funeral, he was the most optimistic president ever. That's the criteria. Die and they like you. All right, Horace, on to the next offender. We've seen some really hideous treatment of Herschel Walker in the media lately, but this one, I think, kind of takes the cake. Watch.
We all know he's not qualified to run for office, let alone be a member of the Senate. Nonetheless, he's being kept propped up. They know he's not the best qualified candidate, but it doesn't matter because they're comfortable with him being in that position because they know he'll never control or run anything in their lives.
Horace, demeaning, disparaging, just doesn't begin to describe that, but your response there.
Well, it's curious. None of this was said about Warnock. What kind of skills did he bring to the table? It's amazing if you're an enabler of this administration and willing to pursue some of the worst policies in the name of enabling the Biden administration, you're wonderful and you're celebrated. But if you stand up and you say something simple like, I love this country, I want to represent the people of our state, we didn't like the lockdowns, and if I'm elected, we're going to make sure those don't happen again, then suddenly there isn't any disparagement too great to give you. This is remarkable how one-sided the media is in this case.
And Horace, they kept saying, well, he can't put two words together. And at the same time, Biden comes out, it's like, I'm very impressed with John Fetterman. I mean, the double standards are like, I'm impressed with Fetterman's performance at the debate, but Herschel Walker, he can't put two sentences together. That's what was the Democrat buzz last week.
Well, I don't want to step on Mr. Fetterman and his challenges. I'll just say this, though. Our president, who read that statement, really read it without any irony. Maybe he was unaware of it when he made that comment.
All right. Next up, we have a very revealing moment from Caitlin Collins over at CNN.
You've been asked a lot in almost basically every interview you've done recently about a 2024 run and running for president. You've said you're not interested in it. I guess my question is, if you're a supporter of yours and you're someone who doesn't live in Michigan but is national and wants to see you run, what is the argument for you not running for president?
Ari, I mean, what is the argument for you not bailing us out of being stuck with Biden again? I mean, they are desperately casting lassos everywhere to try to get someone else to run, but she was really luring old Gretchen into the ring already.
Yeah, and on this one, I anticipate a lot more of similar questions to other Democrats. I do think there's a legitimacy to the press saying to Democrats, are you going to challenge Biden? They want that story. It'd be a fascinating story if he does. But it also just shows that they kind of like to bring these Democrats off the bench and onto the field. They build them up. They praise them. It's so much easier to be a Democrat and get praise from the mainstream media than a Republican. Republicans have no bench. They're all a bunch of wackos, according to the press. But the Democrats, they're full of these great governors and a strong bench just ready to come out whenever the time is right. And the press kind of throws the softballs to them.
Yeah, before we go, I have to have your reaction, both of you, to this news today that the Biden administration, which of course has drained the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to its lowest levels in, I believe, 40 years, is now asking Congress for $500 million to, quote, modernize it. Now, saying it's because of the war of Russia with Ukraine, it's because of global supply issues. But Horace, it's because of what? What did they do to deplete the SPR to these dangerously low levels? But they're citing the war with Ukraine.
Like the student loan program, this misuse of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve was merely as a means of manipulating the election process. We've got a special counsel looking into January 6th. We're starting to see sign after sign that a lot of willingness has been made to manipulate the electoral process, and the media doesn't seem to be concerned at all.
Ari, how serious is this SPR issue?
Oh, it is serious. This was designed for national emergencies in case the United States goes to war, in case there's a cutoff of energy. It's not designed to help maneuver prices up or down a dime or a quarter.
Ari and Horace, great to see you both tonight. Thank you.